I hate hot take culture. I hate hot take culture. I think hot take culture has ruined what it means to be a fan of an NFL football team. It has made it harder for fans to appreciate what they have. It's made it harder for fans to be patient. And I think hot take culture is one of the worst things to ever happen to the sport of football because it turns the delicate process of a quarterback developing the ups and downs into this high stakes, week by week reality TV show that gets dissected every week, and it doesn't allow young players to breathe. And I think this is not helpful for young quarterbacks. So that's what we're going to talk about this week on Around the League, on how hot take culture is ruining our young quarterbacks. Why is it impossible for people to have regular opinions about Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson? Like, seriously, have you ever thought to yourself that? If you came out and said something reasonable about the play level of Baker Mayfield or Lamar Jackson in the last 12 months, you have been met with two differing but extreme reactions, right? If I had said anything of the lines that, hey, Baker still has some things to work out. He's still a young quarterback. He still has to develop. Things can get bumpy for him. He doesn't do certain things well. There's a certain section of the audience that is going to absolutely crucify me for even daring to criticize Baker Mayfield. But on the flip side, if I say Baker Mayfield is a very accurate passer, he has a strong arm. Right now, he's just going through a little bit of issues with the play calling and with the new pieces on offense. You got to give him at least to the bye week to get all of this together, and I think he's going to prove to be a Pro Bowler this year. There is another side of the audience that wants to call him a bum. They want to compare him to Case Keenum. They want to say that he shouldn't even be in the league. They want to tell me that he's a third-round pick. They want to tell me that Mason Rudolph is a better quarterback than Baker Mayfield after one half of football. They want to tell me that Daniel Jones is better than Baker Mayfield after one game. Same thing to even a more extreme with Lamar Jackson. Now, Lamar Jackson is somebody who receives a lot of hate and a lot of love. And those two things together, when somebody receives an extreme amount of hate and extreme amount of love, is just a toxic situation and a toxic environment to be around. Now, I think Lamar Jackson, I said this before this season started, I said that Lamar Jackson is going to be a Pro Bowl caliber player in this league. I don't think he's going to have a super long career, but he is going to give the Ravens a Super Bowl window. He is a franchise quarterback. Now, I said he isn't as good as Michael Vick, but he's much better than a Tyrod Taylor. He's somewhere in between there. And oh my God, the comments and the tweets that I had directed at. That is a reasonable opinion about Lamar Jackson. But if I don't say he's Michael Vick times 3, there's a section of people who are going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, that I'm just hating on Lamar, that I'm calling him a running back. And then there's a section of people, if I say anything positive about Lamar Jackson, they're going to tell me he's a glorified running back, he's an athlete, he's not a quarterback, da-da. And all this nonsense is not true because we have gotten to a point with hot take culture that now it's not just the dudes on ESPN trying to have a hot take. It's not the dudes on FS1 that's just having a hot take. It's everybody is having these hot takes on Twitter. Everybody trying to get retweeted and say something hot and spicy after the game. And it's just ruined what it means to be a fan. And it's made it hard for people to stick with their young players. And now, while you can look at this and think that hot take culture is this artificial thing, and you might think that what other people have to say doesn't have to affect how you individually feel about somebody, But think about it like this. If you're dating somebody, right, and your friends, every time you mention the person that you're dating, do nothing but trash the person you're dating, you're going to start to look over some of the positive things about that person and start to focus on the negatives because the negatives are all you hear about, right? And then you start to be more judgmental of those negatives. You start to be more harsh on those negatives. And the next thing you know, it's 3rd and 5. They have an incomplete pass. It's a regular play, and you're booing them off the field. Okay, this is what's happened with Baker Mayfield. This is what's happened with a segment of the Browns fans and Baker Mayfield, okay? Because Baker Mayfield has went from a guy that I thought in week 17 could not be loved more by a single fan base, that was having his name chanted as he beat the tail off of the Cincinnati Bengals, to somebody now that every time he has a 3 and out or something, I am worried, legitimately worried, that this fan base is going to boo him off the field, leave him with a bad taste in his mouth, and end us up in a situation where we have a franchise quarterback who don't want to re-sign here because we, our fans, booed our quarterback. But that's what hot take culture is. Everybody is focusing on all of the bad stuff that Baker Mayfield does, and we forgot that this is a quarterback in his second year. And the same goes on the other side. That part of the reason why people are so harsh on Baker Mayfield now is because they spent all offseason focusing on all of the great stuff about Baker Mayfield, right? The accuracy and how good, and they just imagine how great this offense is, and they pictured an offense that can't physically exist in the NFL. A Madden offense is going to put up 60 points a game. They're going to just blow folks out. They're going to kill the competition. And now that reality has set in, and that offense is not ready in week 1, 2, 3, and probably 4, people are getting angry that they're not getting what they want, right? They're not getting this impossible offense. They're not getting this amazing offense that they dreamed about, that they thought Baker was already capable of, because we focused too much on the positive. We focused too much on the negative. And now we're at a place to where we can't have a reasonable opinion about Baker Mayfield. This is also what I see happening with Lamar Jackson, right? Lamar Jackson through the first 2 weeks put up incredible numbers, and he captured the imagination of a lot of Ravens fans, which is fine. You're allowed to get carried away. You're allowed to get excited. But there is a line there, right? Your excitement and your excitement and you getting carried away can't be something that then you put on the actual player himself. That is where the line is, because now there are Raven fans, because he had those 2 really good games against bad teams, but still 2 really good games in the NFL, that when he played the Chiefs and had an okay game and they didn't win, now they want to throw Lamar Jackson under the bus when he is probably the best quarterback they've ever had there in franchise history. Yes, I said ever, because Baltimore has never had a true franchise quarterback. When the closest you have come as a franchise is Joe Flacco to a franchise quarterback, you know you ain't had none. You won a Super Bowl with Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer. It's not franchise quarterbacks. Lamar Jackson is a franchise quarterback. He's a young franchise quarterback. He's got to grow. He's got to learn to make better decisions in the pocket. He's got to learn to be a better passer still. He's made strides, no doubt, as a passer, but he still has to learn to be a better passer. Same thing with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield has to learn how to be a better and more effective passer against zone. And you know what? Last week, despite everything, against the Rams, I saw a quarterback who was getting more comfortable against zone concepts. I saw a guy who was finding his spots and was able to make a big play. Now, he wasn't able to make the big play, but that's a bigger question for later on, because there might be a legitimate question to ask if Baker Mayfield is good in those clutch situations, because we saw the interception in the last drive against the Ravens. We saw what happened this week against the Rams. It's something to keep an eye on. It's not something to call him trash about, but it's something to keep an eye on nonetheless. Now, the reason I'm making this video and the reason I'm pointing this out is because I can see the same exact thing happening to young quarterbacks already. People already want to throw Kyler Murray in the garbage, even though he hasn't even been that bad. People already want to crown Daniel Jones. Now, think of this. In April, when Daniel Jones got drafted, it was a laughable pick. People were ready on Twitter to make these hot takes about Daniel Jones and how trash he is. They had all the memes ready. They were making fun of Dave Gettleman. And in 5 months, all that happened was Daniel Jones had a couple good preseason games, and he's played 1 regular season game. And now all of a sudden, Daniel Jones is the next great franchise quarterback in the NFL. Does that seem like a reasonable time frame for that kind of flip of mind thought? Does that sound reasonable to anybody? Does that sound like a long enough sample size? Maybe we shouldn't just crown these dudes because they have 1 or 2 good games. Because if that's the case, in 2014, the Browns would have crowned Brian Hoyer. which would have been a mistake. But in the NFL, I think we're at a point to where a lot of the quarterbacks are older and getting to that age where they're going to retire, and we're just thirsty for new young stars. We want more Patrick Mahomes. We want more Deshaun Watsons, even though I don't even think Deshaun Watson is really up there yet as a quarterback. We want more Andrew. That's not a thing anymore. But you do see what I mean. All of the stars in the NFL have gotten older. Big Ben is on his last legs. Tom Brady, sometime within the next 3 years, has to retire. Like, it's just physics at this point. All of the big names of quarterback pass has to retire. So right now we're scrambling to make the next star. Baker Mayfield had a great rookie year. Boom, we plucked him from rookie quarterback to star, and now we judge him as a star even though he's in his second year, and now he's getting killed by the press. Everybody's calling him overrated, all of this stuff. After 4 games, man. 4 games. 4 games. They weren't ready to crown him last year after 4 games, but after 4 games this year, they're ready to destroy him. I've heard Browns fans turn on Baker Mayfield, a guy who we were praising all offseason. This is ridiculous. We as NFL fans have to do a better job of identifying and ignoring the hot takes. Let's not give a megaphone to the hot take artists out there. To all of my reasonable, level-minded, cool-headed, balanced friends out there who are NFL fans. The next time you see somebody say something stupid like Lamar Jackson is a garbage quarterback or that Baker Mayfield is awful and overrated and no better than a 3rd rounder, just remember that stupid don't always have to get an answer. That's all I have to say.